Haha, part 2 on making videos about stealing Toronto Maple Leafs players, but don't worry, this one is not going to be that bad. Because today what I wanted to do was more so address some of the conversations that have been brought up throughout the Red Wings fan base. Now, a few days ago, we did make a video on this YouTube channel wherein we discussed Steve Yzerman's comments on offer sheets and whether or not they were actually possible for the Detroit Red Wings, and essentially he said kinda, not really. He didn't really think it was a good idea with the cap rising and some of the other factors playing a part into it. Essentially, it doesn't look like a likelihood for the Detroit Red Wings. But that's not gonna stop Red Wings fans from going out there and diving into the idea of Stevie Y making an offer sheet. Which is why in this video I wanted to respond to a main point that has been brought up a bunch and was also discussed yesterday on the Red Wings subreddit. This was made by What's Ya Name, Jack? All those in favor of offer sheeting Matthew Knies, say aye. This was of course on the Red Wings sub, and a whole bunch of folks did go out there and say, yeah, I'd want to do this. I've been watching the Leafs during this playoffs, and this 22-year-old kid is incredible. He's the whole package, seems even better in the playoffs as well. His ELC expires this summer, so if Marner ends up staying in Toronto, I don't see why offering Knies 8 by 8.2 would be out of the question. I don't know if Toronto could afford him and Marner. It could just be a pipe dream though. I feel like they'd let Tavares go before letting Knies sign somewhere else. A guy can dream though. This is just not going to happen. Now, there are a bunch of Wings fans in the replies that say, yeah. But they do go out there and discredit just how likely it is. Never in a million years says, I'd like to see Knies on the Red Wings, but I don't see it happening. Another comment says, 0 chance the Leafs are letting him walk. They can't afford him if they're bringing back Marner, Polish proverb says. Yes, they can. They will let Tavares walk, which frees up around $11 million. And then you get into the entire other conversation, like what you can do and not do with the money and the years. Here's a reply. The offer sheet has to be a max 5 years to count the AAV for salary cap and offer sheet compensation, unless the rules have changed. Not quite. It can be over 5. The compensation AAV will just be based on the max of 5 years. For example, the contract in the post, which is highlighted at 8 years times 8.2, would have an AAV of 13.12 for compensation purposes, but not for salary cap purposes. Which essentially means here that if you sign the guy to a contract that's over 5 years, the total dollar amount of the contract would be calculated as if the contract length was 5 years to determine the compensation payout. Which means you would probably go out there and give up, 4 first-round picks? Yeah, no thank you. He's good, not to mention the fact that only Toronto can offer him an 8-year deal. There is just no reason to dive into this offer sheet thought, and you couldn't make the commentary on this video even and say, hey Lego, stop making videos on Reddit posts, man. Like, you're stealing content, firstly, and secondly, it's one guy making one post and one conversation, and you're making an entire video about it? Come on. And yeah, I think that's a valid criticism, but I will say, the gosh darn Matthew Knies offer sheet thing has not been discussed only here on Reddit. If you head over onto Twitter, for example, and you search up Knies offer sheet, you'll find a bunch of folks going out there and linking this guy to Vancouver, Minnesota. People are going out there and saying Bruins, Devils, Red Wings, of course. I mean, a whole bunch of people are going out there and talking about the Matthew Knies offer sheet. And some of it is memeing, others are more serious. But what is serious is the fact that Knies himself apparently has his own stance on the matter. Here's a tweet from back in April, posted by Leafs Latest. Matthew Knies isn't really interested in entertaining an offer sheet this summer. That's not something he or his agent are pursuing heading into the offseason. On top of that, the Leafs feel like they have enough cap space to get their business done this summer. It all starts with Mitch Marner. What happens with the pending UFA will shape the rest. Once that's sorted, the decision on Knies will follow. Whether it's a long-term or short-term deal, and how much money is left will depend on that. But as of now, the Leafs are in a strong position to sign him, and if an offer sheet does come in, they would likely match it. That was reported by Chris Johnston on TSN Hockey, and I know we've been making this entire conversation known without actually diving into Knies and the profile himself. 22 years old, a big dude, left-handed guy who has 7 points in 9 games in the playoffs with the Leafs this season, not to mention 58 points in 78 games in the regular season. He had a 29-goal year that Matthew Knies did. He was quite exquisite. And ultimately, when you think about it, there is ample reason why all these fan bases of other teams are saying, hey, offer sheet that guy, look at him. It's because he's really talented. With Matthews and Marner and Nylander and Tavares all having this core status amongst them, Matty Knies is bringing everything that Zach Hyman left when he departed the Leafs, and then some. A youthful exuberance that Zach Hyman, unfortunately, didn't really have in his final days in Toronto. Not to mention the aggression and the physicality and just the overall work ethic that Knies has, combined with his skills and his goal-scoring ability. There are so many positive qualities that Matthew Knies brings to the table here that he's starting to look like a really big steal from just a few years ago. And so to tie it all back with the Detroit Red Wings, oh yeah, obviously we can understand why Wings fans would be in on this guy and they'd love to see him suit up in the red and white. Imagine Matthew Knies with Larkin and Raymond. That line sounds like it would be able to achieve so much, and it could be one of the best lines in the entire Atlantic if you wanted to go that far. Heck, maybe even one of the best lines in the East, or even the NHL. Who knows? But Knies has shown a versatility and an overarching level that is above his pay grade and above his age range of a 22-year-old guy that the offer sheet conversation has definitely been percolating, but it's not going to happen. If the Wings wanted to offer sheet this guy, they'd have to give him the moon and the stars. They would have to give up 4 first-round picks, probably, and Knies would have to accept it. No matter how big the dollar amount is that Knies ends up receiving, it's already been reported that he wants to stay in Toronto. Would the Wings be willing to give up that kind of return in order to get this guy? Sure, he would be a huge addition and really, really effective alongside of the best Wings players, but for that price, man, 4 first-round picks, 2 first-round picks, a second and a third, a first, a second, and a third, there would be a lot of money tied up into this, and whatever it is under, let's say, $8 million, you could probably say the Maple Leafs just decide to retain and keep him, match the deal, and just let it go. So with that in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the conversation that a lot of Wings fans have been bringing up over the past little while about a Matthew Knies offer sheet? It's not possible, but everybody's talking about it, which is why I wanted to talk about it too. Even if it's in a video just to say it's not possible, I do still think there is value in having this conversation. So with that in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.